Hello everyone. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Tom. I'm a professional baseball player, and this series is about my recovery from Tommy John surgery. If you're not new here, everything I just said is still true, but welcome back, and thank you for watching. 90 miles an hour is a very big milestone for pitchers, or it used to be anyway. When I was in high school, if someone threw 90 miles an hour or harder, they were spoken about like they were a god. In fairness, my high school league was not very good. When I was in college, throwing 90 pretty much guaranteed that the local scouts at least knew your name. Times have changed, obviously, and now every big league bullpen has two dudes throwing 99 with a wipeout slider, and you've never heard their name before. But for me, 90 is still a pretty significant number. It's a big milestone in my throwing program currently, if for no reason but that I haven't gotten to it yet. And even when I was healthy, it would be a pretty good day for me if I was hitting 90 on an indoor mound, and some days I wouldn't even be able to get there with a hitter in the box. The last time I threw, I topped out at 87.5, and that's pretty solid for where I'm at so far. But in the next few weeks, we're going to try to move the needle up to 90 as far as top-end velocity goes. So let's get right into it. Even though Otto, the founder and host of us all here at the lab, has left for spring training and the World Baseball Classic, we still get to use it because...
Luckily, Gerardo has the keys now, and he can hook it up, you know?
He gave the keys to Gerardo, who is our bullpen catcher and the best hype man around. Now, I was admittedly not feeling my best going into this one, but I was also determined to push through here to some higher velocities. I got to some higher velocities, topping out at 89, which was the goal for the day, albeit sacrificing a little bit of command in order to get there, and after this my arm was really sore, specifically around my elbow, and I would be lying to you if I told you that didn't concern me just a little bit. I threw lightly a day or so later, and then a light bullpen the day after that, and it didn't hurt while I was throwing, which is always a good sign. I was reassured a little bit, but obviously still a little worried. After talking out with my PT the next day, we figured that some of the muscles in my forearm, specifically my finger flexors, are still not quite strengthened back all the way to what they need to, or at least they aren't in the positions that I'm putting them in during my motion. So we set to work finding some ways to strengthen them in those specific positions, and that has mostly alleviated the soreness that I was feeling. The next time I was on the mound and looking for some higher velocity, my arm felt notably better, and as a result, my command was better and I was able to sit 88-89 relatively comfortably, and command my off speed relatively well. I tried to really let a few go towards the end of the bullpen to find a 90,
Oh no! 89.7. Oh my god, not 90.
but I fell short by just 0.3 of a mile an hour, topping out at 89.7. Does that round up to 90? Sure, but we don't round up, kids. It isn't wrong, but we just don't do it.
It isn't wrong, but we just don't do it.
I was a little disappointed that I didn't make it to 90 since this was the first day that it was set out as the actual goal, but no matter, I was pretty close, so I wasn't too worried about it. Another change that I've made recently has been how I lift, or rather the focus that I have in my main lifts. My very intelligent friend Dean Jackson has explained to me how he thinks the pitching motion is a sequence of muscular stretch shortening cycles that transfer energy from the start of your downward move towards the plate to when the ball comes out of your hand. In that process, energy needs to be transferred from the ground up to your hips, through your core, to your torso, to your shoulder, through your arm, and to the ball. Now, the more efficiently you can redirect energy as it passes through those different parts of your body, the harder you're going to throw while seemingly using less effort. Anytime you see a guy like Brusdar Graterol or Yordano Ventura, rest in peace, where it looks like they are playing a nice casual game of catch, but the ball comes out at 100, they're probably really efficient at transferring energy. In order to get better at this, I'm revamping some of my lifting in order to focus more on rebounding energy more efficiently as my throwing is really ramping up. So the way that I've been trying to do this is by focusing on the feeling of bouncing out of the bottom of the lift and using a VBT unit where I can to measure the speed and try to make sure I'm staying in the speed range I'm going for, which will generally be slower for the lower body and faster for the upper body as the speed of each body part in the throw gets progressively faster up the chain. I've also found that my lower intensity mound session that I've been doing every week has been a great help to my command and getting the feel back from my off-speed pitches, particularly my changeup. They say that feel pitches like the changeup are usually the last to come back after an injury like a torn UCL, and I've got to say that seems to be the gospel truth for me. Slowly working the comfort versus intensity level up on my changeup has been one of the bigger challenges I've had so far in this rehab, and I think I'm finally starting to get over the hump on that battle. But anyway, it is time to answer the big question, will I hit 90 in my last bullpen that I'm putting in this video? Back to the lab to find out. This was without a doubt the best bullpen I've thrown so far, minus the cutter that I still haven't given up on, despite my brain telling me it probably won't work.
Try it one more time. Okay.
Unfortunately, I still wasn't able to find a 90. I felt like I was giving it pretty much everything I could while still trying to keep the ball in the zone, since it's getting too far into this to still be spraying the ball in search of numbers. But it simply was not there. However, after my initial disappointment wore off, I realized that this isn't really that bad. Like I said before, I've had plenty of times when I couldn't hit 90 indoors prior to surgery, even with a hitter in the box. So not being able to do it with no hitter in the box in dead silence
Nothing but my own thoughts.
isn't really that shocking. At worst, I'm pretty much back to where I was. And in the grand scheme of things, I'm still about 2 months out from pitching in a game. If I were 2 months away from pitching in a game in a normal off season, it would be late December to early January. And I can't say that I would expect to be able to throw 90 indoors in early January. In no small reason because I have many examples of me not being able to throw 90 last January or the January before that. So while this feels like, a letdown or a shortcoming, in reality, it's really not that far off from what I would be doing in a normal year. In any case, 3 weeks of topping out at 89 does call for a deload, or so the smart fellows at Driveline who are writing my throwing program tell me. So hopefully with a little break from really high intensity throwing, my body can adapt to the stress I've been putting on it for the last few weeks, and maybe we can break through this plateau and into some new territory for my new elbow. As always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.